I'm live. How about that? I like the methods. So, looks like we're live again. Welcome back to American Zarathustra. This is going to be a Monday live stream in the studio, and I'm kind of giving you a little look at some inspiration I have. I am doing the artwork for the interior of the next issue of Bizarchives, published by Dave Martel. So Dave and I are really excited about essentially taking back Pulp Fiction. He and I are huge fans of fantasy illustration, fantasy magazines, the like. So this is a new thing, and so you can see some of the artwork that I'm working on now. Before I go into that, I'll kind of give you a brief look at how the process works here. So I'll get a description of a character, for example, and then you can see I'm developing the character, and then the character would go into the cover or one of the illustrations that go with a story. So I know these aren't really easy to see, and maybe you can enlarge your screen a bit. Say hello in the chat. Let me know who's here, who's with us. But yeah, so I do these rough sketches of different layouts and different designs to, like I said, let's say there's a story of, I don't know, let's say a little girl lost in the woods or something like this, the big bad wolf comes. And so you've got a girl, the woods, and a wolf. And then, so those are three elements that you might, but it turns out that she's actually a monster and she eats wolves. So that's the trick of this story. I'm just giving you an example. Hello, Yankee Apple and JD Solway. Great to have you with us here on this fine Monday morning. So I how many I did? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different layouts with these different topics. There's a kind of a Scottish farmer, so I thought, well, maybe his house would look really cool. Here I've got him with a shotgun and one of those oil lamps. They're very rough sketches. They're just basically for me to move the elements around and see what it might look like. This is just typical work for illustrators. You design things, and then once you find the one you like, then you go ahead and you make a final copy. So that's where I am now. Let me just move this a little bit out of the way. So here what you see is that's going to be a 1 full page of interior art at the head of a story. And in this, I can't really tell you what the stories are. That's kind of, that'd be a no-no. But anyway, that gives you a little example. So now, what are my inspirations, right? I'm a massive sort of fantasy junkie, I guess, as far as, now here's an example of this guy's Mark Schultz. He's a very famous illustrator. He does these kind of designs, and then he'll do finished work. Here, so you could see, for example, this in blue is kind of the layout sketch. Here he's changed it a bit. There's this woman kind of, like being held by this octopus, all this thing. So that's how it works. Anyway, you get the general idea of it. But something that's really key in this kind of art is tone. So levels of black and white. And you can see there's a massive, nice variety of tone. That's what makes the artwork pop, and this goes back to, olden times where we used etching as a form of illustration, I guess a means or medium of illustration for, books, literature, Bibles, newspapers, etc., etc. It's kind of a tradition in Western art. And so, this is obviously something I'm also influenced by. As you can see, I'm a big collector of these, what's called the Warren magazines. Warren magazine here, eerie and creepy magazine. I'll give you a kind of a look on the inside. You know, you've got all these sort of like swords and sorcery. It's very adult. There's certain like adult themes in here. Um, it's just magical, fantastical. The imaginative qualities of this kind of artwork really inspired me a lot when I was younger and sort of a budding artist, if you will, you know. I'm just going to take a look at some other things here. Called the Barbarian. Here, this is beautifully illustrated. It's all in black and white. Let's see if we can get this to stop doing that. Come on. Tell you what, why don't I do this instead? I'll zoom in a bit for you, and then you can kind of have a look at how beautiful these illustrations are. Now, that's not easy to do. That has massive amounts of you know, artistic skill and training and understanding how to compose and paint, use the techniques, etc., etc. So these are my heroes, basically. These are the kind of the sort of the people I grew up with, so to speak, and that inspired me to get into art. And of course, I do all kinds of art, but with Dave Martel publishing Bizarchives, it's essentially taking back Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction. There's a show that I did on this already, interview with Dave. So I'll have to maybe put the link in whatever in the show notes, or you can look around my YouTube page, and highly recommend that you check that out so you understand. You know, we're living in an age where media is extremely anti-white, and we say in the White Art Collective and in this the white identitarian sphere, we've got to take it back one by one. And so this is part of my mission. You know, the thing about the white positive movement is it, you know, I'd say our mantra is positive us, not negative anybody else. And that's a quote from Jeff Winston, you know, when he speaks to us, you know, the members of the White Art Collective, about what we do and how we, you know, relate to people online and do this and that, the other thing with our work. This is essentially the message. So, you know, while we're living in a world of hatred of white people and our civilization, we are counterbalancing that with love for our people, our traditions, our culture, our future. So the arts plays a role in that. Everybody has a role. You know, I'm not sort of like, you know, the military type, so to speak. You know, those guys have a role. You can check out the 4th Generation Warfare conversation on my channel. It's pretty interesting stuff. But yeah, my weapon is a pencil, you know, or a pen or a guitar. You know, we're very much engaged in a information war, a cultural war, and you know, we pray that these things can be accomplished and that, you know, nothing will get too bad in the future for us. So this is a good time to look at who we are and look at our traditions and reconnect with them. Granted, what I'm doing here is, you know, it's sort of a slow process. Kind of letting you look over my shoulder, so to speak, and here in the studio, and see how the magic works. So just for your information, I'm going to be using basically, what do they call these things? Copic markers, and they come in different tones. You can kind of, whoa, you can kind of see, you know, different tones here, whatever, you know, that, and so that adds shades of gray, and then of course I'll ink it, and that's going to make this pop like the other artwork that I showed you. Hello, Mr. Simon. Driving whilst listening. We in America have to start using words like whilst, you know. I think it's so cool. Anyway, God bless you. Good to see you again, Simon. Simon is a regular at American Zarathustra, and I love it because I love my British brothers and sisters. I am part English myself, and it's always nice because I kind of get a feeling of like sort of going home or kind of being around my people in a sense, you know, when I get to talk to people from the UK. So I really, it's kind of killing me that I can't tell you what the story is here because it would inform the experience of watching me illustrate it. But at the same time, I think you can sort of see for yourself what's going on in the picture if you're looking closely. So the funny thing about fantasy is that you don't, it's fantasy. Like, you know, I have a sort of a zombie right here, you know, that there's no zombies in reality to sit for a portrait, you know, thank God. So I have to use my knowledge of anatomy, my imagination, and bring it together. Also, an important tool is the, hey, oh, cool, yeah, okay, and JD Salway. I'm in England as well. JD, I didn't know that. Cool. Um, Glad to have you guys here. I'm going to put some music on in a minute, actually. I need to grab some supplies. Tell you what, I'll put the music on now. Uh, Enjoy. Hmm. Is the music too loud? Is my question for you. Yes, good old Chopin. You know what it is good old copyright-free music. I've put on different music on my shows, and then I get these warnings from YouTube. You know, and I'll specifically look up copyright-free music. You know, and yet I still get these hits, these warnings, and so it's kind of annoying. You can't win, I guess. I need to move some of this. I need some arm room. Get that out of the way. Okay. This is a really good one, by the way. One M. So here in this image, you've got a some kind of a desert. I don't know if I would call him a nomad, but he is sort of a wealthy character from the past, and he lives in the desert. And here he's got his concubine, and he's having some wine and enjoying his pleasures of life. And somehow that plays a part in this story. So as an illustrator, you kind of ask yourselves, well, or yourself, why, how do I illustrate wealth, and how does it comport with the time period and the theme of the story? So here in the back, he's got all these jugs of wine. There's a sort of a tent on the side here with a big chest inside it, which you sort of assume is possibly filled with gold or something. What is up with this music? Some kind of a dirge? I don't know if I'm going to get down with that. I'm going to have to fast forward that a little bit. Maybe I'll zoom in just for a second so you guys can see the artwork in more clarity. Come on, camera. The camera's tweaking on me now. The music actually sort of fits this. You can see the camels in the desert. You can see the dude, I'm not quite sure what the right term is for that. But let's get this, I don't know, maybe we need some jazz or something. This is a little morose. Or maybe some Debussy would be better. It's a little more palatable. That would be much nicer. Okay, there you go. So, wow, we got a bunch of people here. Let's see. We've got, let's show Kane Heydrich. Lovely to meet you. Hello, I enjoyed your art. I'm a regular viewer from England. Oh, wonderful. And I'm an artist and an ethno-nationalist. Wonderful, me too. I started uploading my artistic videos last month on my channel. Please leave a link here for us, Kane, okay? Also, take a look at my video. If you're interested, you may like them. I'm going to start making videos. I would urge you, Kane, to check out White Art Collect. Actually, you know what? The UK has their own, come on, help me out here. Mark Collette's project, Patriotic Alternative, has an arts group, and I can't recall the name of it at the moment. It might just be Patriotic Arts UK or something like that. But we need you in our groups, is what I'm trying to say. So definitely check that out. What kind of art do you do, Kane? Bard. Thank you, Bard. Yeah, that's, there you go. So, Kane, tell us a little bit about your art, if you will. Patriotic Arts Community. Thank you. Appreciate that. Visiting England is a big thing on my bucket list, if you will. I feel like the times are too dangerous for travel, unfortunately, and that's obviously quite heartbreaking. But you know, it's something that I have had on my mind for a long time. When I travel, my number one thing that I want to do is visit the art museums. When I lived in New York City, I used to visit the what do you call it? The Metropolitan Museum at least once a month. Um, there's a lot of other galleries and museums, of course, in New York City, um, but that was a really wonderful kind of lifestyle that I had going in those times. So I've been thinking about the work that I'll be doing for Bizarchives, and what I'm going to do is have uh, prints of these for sale. I'm setting up what I call a swag shack. It's basically, you know, a place where you can just go and click a button and you know, purchase some art and have it shipped to you, that kind of thing. So I have some art now for that, but I feel like the Bizarchives is going to be a big thing for me in the future. So this is a good old chill stream. It's important to take a break from the toxicity and the stress of everything that's going on. It's kind of part of our mental health, I would say. It's definitely a part of my mental health. You know, people may notice that I have not been uh, putting out as much content lately. Just sometimes life happens. You know, you got a lot going on with business opportunities or family and friends, or this and that. Um, the Imperium Art Project, I think what I need to do now is start reaching out to the artists in the Bard that we were just talking about in the chat, and start getting them on the show. Um, I've spoken to a great deal of people in the White Art Collective and the adjacent scenes, you know, different influencers around. I want to bring in more people from the Apollonian uh, scene, I don't know what to call that, and get their perspectives on things. There's some high-end, not high-end is not the word, there's some sort of bigger influencers that I'd like to have on the show. I'm a big fan of Jason Giorgiani. I'd like to have him on the show. He's doing really interesting work. Uh, he's published a new book on, it's called Closer Encounters on the UFO phenomenon, and I've been following that for 16 years on my own, just as like a hobbyist, basically. So I'm tuned right into all the messages and all the things that are going on there. Um, you know, there's a lot of people in our sphere that are important and, you know, kind of big influencers, but don't necessarily have a connection to the arts. So it's kind of taking them out of their comfort zone, I guess, to ask them on the show. I've offered uh, many people, you know, to come on the show, and I just sort of feel like, well, it's not my field of expertise. I don't know what I could say about it, you know. So that's okay. It's completely understandable. The focus really, again, is on, I guess, you know, like the culture war, if you will, right? Um, Making content, being part of this culture, etc. Did anybody catch my interview on the XYZ festival? That was xyz.net.au is a magazine out of Australia, an online magazine. Uh, very important work that these guys are doing. They're, I guess, essentially the voice of the right wing um, in Australia. I send our prayers to Australia right now. I love this show and I hate politics with a passion. There you go. Pronouncing your name will be a little too difficult, so I think I'm going to not do that. But I will say, I feel you. I hear you. So I can't say that I like politics. It's not, like a thing I think one likes per se, but it's just a thing that I feel I have to engage in. You know, it's kind of an interesting point because that's sort of really where I think all of us are in some regard, is that we were, when I say all of us, I mean like pretty much all Americans, that we're being forced to engage with politics, we're forced to get off our butts and get involved. But there's, normies are just woefully ignorant about history and ideology and all the various, mm, you know, all the techniques the left has for manipulating us and the rest. So it's quite terrible. It's really, really important to get the message out to the normies. Should perhaps not use the word normie, I guess. I don't know if common people hear that term, they might misunderstand it as derogatory. Um, I've never thought of it as derogatory. I always thought of it just as, people that are floating along and are not plugged in to what's happening in the world. But I can remember being on let's get Yiz into the club here. How we doing, Yiz? Great to have you with us. To get my camera to be stable or not. I'm on camera. Good, good. Nice to have you here with us. Just popping in to drop hearts and like before work. Working on your stream, yes. Yiz has got a stream on Mondays too, I believe. So there you go. Rock and roll. It was great to be on her show recently with Nullis, my good buddy Nullis. I like calling him Lord Nullis. That would be cool. Gotta get him a crown or something. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Like I said, a lot of stuff going on in the world. I have pretty good intel. And I was sort of keeping my eye on the people that know what's going on. But again, at the same time, it is stressful, and you have to kind of walk away from it sometimes. I've been dancing a lot, going dancing, clubbing in the city on the weekends. So that's been a fantastic release, socializing, flirting with girls, having fun, getting some exercise. So that's been great. This is such a lovely song. It's kind of sad in a way. It's amazing how just little melodic phrases can make you feel a way. Wow, music is just so magical, you know. Speaking of music, Mama's Monday Mix on White Art Collective D Live is tonight. It is Monday again, my friends. So you're going to want to tune into that. It's always a good time, a lot of fun, good people, good music. Mama's Monday Mix on White Art Collective D Live. Definitely check that out. Okay, so let's see what's going on in the chat. I love this show. Okay, just everybody's chilling. Mhm. So what I'm doing is I'm working up the details, and I'm getting ready to go into toning it, like I said, with these toning markers. One of the key aspects of doing illustrations is, especially black and white, specifically black and white, is understanding the relationship of lights to darks and how they create a rhythm, almost a musical rhythm, throughout the image, and that they lead the eye in a pleasant way, so that I'm designing how you look at the image by where I put the darks and the lights. So here I'm thinking like the sky could be a medium tone, and the sand of the desert could be a light tone. Maybe we'll put a darker tone here to pop this character here, and then the naked woman, it would be lighter, obviously. So there's dark on light, dark on light, dark on light, and it keeps flowing like that. That is the magic of illustration and black and white illustration. And then this kind of morphs into this area here. The morphing stuff is actually a little on the trickier side, because you're kind of, I don't know, watercolor washing it in together, but you're kind of using lines to do so. It's there's techniques involved that make this possible, and you'll just kind of have to see how it goes. I really feel like I need to go to the art store and get some new materials. So first of all, I'm going to lay out what I have here. So these go from like 0 to 10 in terms of darkness, and then there's also markers that are just empty, and they're just for blending. So like these are my blending sticks here. Keep those aside. Your workstation is really important. I've got 6 to 9, 5s, 3s. So we're going to kind of do like a light to dark. 3s, 5s, 6, 9, another 3. Okay, these are just jet black, but I don't know how much ink are in those. Those darn things are expensive, by the way. People don't really realize the finances, the cost that goes into doing the kind of work that I do. Of course, the money you make, you reinvest it, obviously, right? It's a 2, very light. This one is a 1, so that's super light. Let's see what it looks like, though. Okay. Now with a 1, you can kind of sort of play around with it. Let's see where I want to go. Let's see how that looks. It's quite medium light. Um, the thing of it is it might dry lighter. Sometimes they get lighter as they dry. So here I'm kind of putting the shadows in underneath here. You figure it's the desert. It's very harsh light. So I'm kind of right now looking for all the areas where there would be light shadows. And then with this, there is, of course, what do you call that? Reflective shadows. So that means like the light is bouncing off the rug onto her leg. So you're not gonna make it like super, super dark, you know. And honestly, I'm feeling like this isn't really a light shadow. This is more of a medium shadow. It looks almost more like a 3 than a 1. You get to know these things as you go, you know, as you learn the craft. But I think part of the sort of the joy of these things is the kind of being in other places and other times. You know, Pulp Fiction is known for, you know, its time in the 1930s, probably before then, and you know, then it morphed into comic books and film, etc. In say like the 40s and 50s. You know, people used to read books. You know, that was a thing that people did, and it's kind of nice to sort of bring that back. Now, the Bizarchives are short stories, right? So I find that's kind of nice because people are on the go, you know, and it's a kind of a book that can fit easily in a bag, or you can carry it very easily. And so, you know, I don't know if you're on a bus or waiting in a doctor's office or something, you can easily pull it out and enjoy it. When I lived in New York City, when I lived in Asia, I was on trains every day. And, you know, gosh, how much of your life do you spend on public transit when you're kind of in that stage of your life, you know? I have a car now, but anyway, that, you know, when you're young and adventurous, traveling, that's what you do. So, you know, I easily spend 2 hours on a train like every day, coming and going to work, uh, traveling around, checking out, you know, the sights and the scenes. And so you got to have a book with you, you know. I guess I'm kind of talking well, you know, the internet was around, but I wasn't as savvy with technology when I was younger. I was still kind of, you know, doing books and stuff. And now it's audiobooks for me. Audiobooks, like I'm working in my studio a lot, and you know, I can't read a book. I have to concentrate on my work, right? So, audiobooks, and then it's crazy because after I don't know, gosh, 8 years of or more of, you know, working freelance in my studio and having discovered sites like LibriVox, they they basically it's free audiobooks. And anything you want to know, I mean, you can get essentially a college education or better by listening to all this stuff, and you gain massive, massive amounts of knowledge, which of course enriches you, emboldens you, empowers you. Creating light seems the hardest thing to do when drawing. Yeah, that's quite interesting because, you know, your paper is light, right? It's pure white. It's the light, and then you're just adding shadows and shadows and shadows and shadows. You know, in increasing darkness. You know, if you look at, I don't know, try to maybe find like an example of something here. look at how light is sort of created by making the backgrounds gray, you know, and that kind of adds to the quality of things. So let's get back to work. And I'm going to build it up. I mean, I do want to go bold. I really am anxious to just, maybe I'll indulge myself a little bit with some heavy darks just for the joy of it. 'Cause I can't tell you why, but I'm totally addicted to inking. Inking is insanely satisfying. There's just something about it. I don't have the particular brush that I want handy, but I can sort of work with this a little bit. Nah, you know what? I got to get that brush. Sorry, guys. Artists have needs too. So I'll be right back. Enjoy the music. I'm back. And so, you know, you have this variety of different types of markers. You know, I used to use traditional brush and ink. I love doing that, you know, but it's got to be honest, it's faster to do it this way. Now this one is a little dry, so I might, so for example, since it's dry, I can use this kind of a stroke technique to create kind of a tonal space that has a texture to it. I have this idea of maybe kind of letting some light into the sky, into the background, to highlight where his eyes are here. It's just another visual device. So I'm going to be very excited to be able to sell prints of these once I get all this stuff going. It's a blast working with Dave Martel too. I mean, Big Dave, Big Bog Dave, you know. I mean, the energy, that's kind of how I look at people nowadays, is what is your energy? You know, are you a downer? Are you an upper? What are you about? Where are you coming from? You know, I'm not afraid of downers per se, or, you know, yeah, I'm not sort of turned off by that per se, but you do want to be around people that energize you and inspire you and push you. You know, I love and respect Dave, and I want him to be happy with this. When he freaks out looking at some of my artwork, that's incredibly satisfying. You know, it's like, dude, this is epic, you know, something like that. That feels great. So, you know that if he's feeling that, then the audience is probably feeling it as well, you know. And that's a massive sense of satisfaction, you know. So, tell you what, that's not what I wanted to do. Hang tight. So I'm kind of going a little bit out of order. You know, everybody inks differently. I've watched a lot of inkers on the internet, and they go completely backwards to my system. But that's what they do. You know, everybody's got their own way. You know. So here you see I'm doing these, what the the Japanese would call axe strokes, where you kind of chop away at the picture with these stroking swipes. They create an interesting kind of brushy texture, which gives value to the surface. You know, it's like this. Boy, that music is dramatic. We'll try and put that down. Dave Martel is here. That's so awesome, and I'm so glad you liked it. That was your favorite story. Oh, okay. You guys are already talking, and I'm behind. Creating lights. Hail, Dave is here. Awesome. A few days ago. Awesome. So yeah, there's a lot going on. Bonjour from the Dalles. Welcome to Just for Chans. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly. Where are you from? What country are you from? Just for Chans. There's loads I liked. Anyway, so yeah, Bizarchives 2 is in the making. I've had a chance to kind of get an overview of many of the stories, and you guys are, I'm telling you, this thing is just getting better and better and better. So it's going to be really, really exciting. I think it's such a cool new addition to our overall sphere, you know, our culture, and it's fun. We got to have some fun, you know. We got to do some things that are cool and fun, you know. And this is definitely it. So, and the thing again is like there's just so much anti-white media out there that when you know that you can buy something and it's not going to be some sick, twisted portrayal of you know whites in history, and that's not real history, or blah blah blah. You know, we all know the routine. We know how it goes. So it's exciting to be a part of this. It's actually quite powerful because our enemies know that the arts are a powerful tool of demoralization. They know that good and well, right? Ulfric Durinson, welcome. Great to see you, my man. I love your names and your stuff. They're good to see you, brother. Um, so many cool people in the chat. A lot of cool people in the American Zarathustra fan sphere, or whatever, if you will. I want to apologize for not putting out more content in the past 2 weeks. Just, you know, sometimes life happens, a lot going on. I'm very, very much focused on the arts, and I can't show every single thing that I do on, you know, on my channel. Got a very major graphic novel coming out this fall. Doing the final work on that for New Delphi Media. It's going to be epic. I've been telling people, imagine if memes were superheroes. You know, like Grug or Clown World or Chad or Trad Wife or Waifus, or, you know, you can go on and on and on. There's so many memes that we're all familiar with. Well, we're making a graphic novel where they come to life. So that is going to be insane. That's going to be insane. Been working on it for a year already, to be honest with you, because graphic novels take a long time to produce. That's part of why I love doing what I'm doing with Bizarchives, because I can just do spot illustrations and they don't take 100 years. You know. So there you go. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. All right. Now, there's another thing too, is that by leaving things unfinished in a way, that contributes to the sort of quality of it. So like, for example, if this is a memory, I would leave it, say, just in pencil. Now here's another thing that people don't think about much, is that you turn your page a lot, right? The human hand goes like this, right? So it'd be awkward to do that all the way around, right? So you just turn the page, and this ink is running out, so I'm going to have to use another one. I guess I'll use this guy here. Let's see what we got. Well, we all got to work. Don't sweat it. Is that savage sort of Conan? I've got tons of Conan. Yeah, earlier in the show I was talking about all the magazines that like Dave and I are really into, and how that informs the project of what we're doing with Bizarchives. You know, huge standing ovation to Dave Martel for starting the Bizarchives and you know, taking it off the ground. There's a lot of very talented writers involved, and I'm telling you, this is a very exciting new thing going on in our sphere. So this stuff here. There's no ink in it. It's just like ink juice, and it allows you to. It's like if I were using watercolor, this would be just water, you know, and it allows you to kind of blend things. So, and the funny thing about doing artwork is that, you know, I'll have it all planned out, and then I'm executing it, and then suddenly I'll get an idea like, oh, this would look really good if I do this. You know, like maybe I can emphasize this more here or there or something. And that's kind of happening right now, actually. The art process is really something. So, crap, I lost the cap. I've invited Nullis and Tyler Hamilton on for the next episode of Afternoon at the Museum. You know, people have schedules and stuff, and it's not always easy to make it all come together, but that is in the works. What's your show called, Watchrider? Oh, okay, just about to stream myself. Yes, Watchrider does some amazing computer animation, and he's a member of the White Art Collective as well. I believe Watchrider's from UK as well. Another UK brother. Don, do you remember Epic magazine? It was similar to heavy metal, but less harsh, LOL. Bodacious, my main man, Mr. Dacious. You better believe it, man. Epic magazine was, well, epic. Sorry, that was cheesy. Yeah, I loved it. I've got several issues. I thought it was cool that basically, you know, you see these other magazines coming out in competition to heavy metal and creepy and eerie Warren magazines. I think Epic is actually a Marvel magazine, come to think of it. You got to imagine, let's say in the 70s and 80s, in New York City, there were, you know, I guess so many magazines that published this kind of material, or I should say not so many. And so they would compete with each other. Now, there's a famous story about Stan Lee and Carmine Infantino. Carmine Infantino was the head editor of DC Comics, in the 1970s, and Stan Lee and Carmine used to have lunch together. You know, there was a sort of a playful competition, you know, between DC and Marvel, but Stan Lee pulled a fast one on them, where one month they came out and they raised their comics like an extra 10 cents or something. You know, you got to figure 1975. I don't know, comics were, I don't know, 25 cents, and then when it said, you know, now 35 cents, that everybody was shocked. Oh my God, 35 cents. Oh no, prices are going up. Oh, boo, you know, that kind of thing. And so the following month, DC made all their comics 35 cents, but Marvel brought their prices back down to 25 cents. So the following month, Marvel sales exploded while DC's flopped, right? So that was a kind of a, I guess, I don't know, bait and switch type of a financial strategy or something. It's just comic book wars. Speaking of comic book wars, you'll never believe who is on Comicsgate now. It's Alex Jones. So Alex, a friend of mine, just sent me this link this morning. I think I posted it on my Twitter. Essentially, it's Alex Jones sitting in on a show. What's it called? Oh, damn! I'm sorry, I just don't remember. But I thought, like, that was pretty wild. And he says that he watches their show. I sort of find that hard to believe because, yeah, how devious, right? Symphony. That's a typical underhanded sort of thing to do. But anyway. So as you're seeing the piece here now, making the sky this kind of grayish, it makes the foreground pop out, right? So I have to somehow make all this stuff blend. I'm starting to feel that maybe I don't want so much pencil in here. Maybe I'll pull that back a bit. And I just tell my art students that the eraser is your best friend, you know, and yeah, sort of allows you to develop things, you know, push and pull. I think of drawing as sculpture on paper. You know, this is just bits of clay that I'm slapping on and pulling off and pushing around. You know, later I might fill this in with black. I don't know if I like it or not, but I kind of have to let the piece evolve. You know, yeah. So I'm gonna start adding a little darker. I'm gonna go to from a 3 to a 5. This might not be a, yeah, I think this is a 5. I'm kind of, so yeah, it's best to go from say light to dark, and you kind of use a gradual gradation, if you will, as you go down, and then that helps to pull things out more and more. Put a shadow under this guy's chin. Highlight the edge of her arm. We will give her some darker tones in her hair. But you have to allow for the light to glisten off of her hair. To kind of allow the white to work through. So subtractive drawing, this isn't really subtractive drawing. Drawing or coloring, painting, whatever, in such a way as where you allow the white to work is its own thing. It's hard to explain. And then scenes in the background are always harder to do because they're smaller. And so I'm drawing like these two guards by the tent here, and you can't see their faces. You can't see details so much. So you have to just suggest them, which is actually quite difficult. So it's kind of like picking out the essential aspects of something. Let's see what we got here. Reading the comments. Original Tales from the Crypt comic was base 2. I prefer Eerie, though. I strongly agree with Eerie. Artwork from Games and Beyond. Games and Beyond, I think, wasn't that a D&D book? And there were several issues of it that came out. Am I right? Or I don't know. That was another big kind of coming of age moment for me when I first saw D&D books in the bookstore, and the artwork, of course, dazzled me. Weirdly though, I never got into D&D. My friends did. I just can't really say why that never happened with me, because it seems like it should have. My son is into D&D. His buddies play it, and he's the dungeon master. He writes the stories, the scripts for their games. So now he's into creative writing now. He wants to learn about that. Of course, I'm very happy about that, right? You know. So I'll give you a little bit of a close-up here. This is how tone works. So tone is, lights to darks. Okay. What's happening in the chat? CG is here. Good morning. Doing another hour, bud? Yeah, about that. I don't want to bore people. Hi, everyone. Ghost Riders here. Justified Chan's question is, are you part North FC or part South FC? I don't understand the question. No, I live in the North. Is that what you're asking? I don't get the question. What kinds of pencils, markers are you using? Copic is the standard for the industry. They're like $7 a marker. So, look at the markers I have and do the math. I like these brush markers. There's just so many. I'll be honest, the Japanese make, I think, the best brush markers. Yes, I love using organic brushes and ink, and I might go back to that, but it's more convenient. What's going on? What kinds? Nice. Wow, really cool. I like Conan, Ghost Rider, and the Dark Knight Batman. Yes, indeed. We are on the same page. So I'm just going to keep going here. I think, I don't know. I'm feeling like maybe I'm going to use pencil in here for this. Now, there's a sort of a technique that I use. I'll show you. It's a typical comic book illustration technique for creating tone. And essentially, you make it's just cross hatching. You make a kind of grid pattern with these lines, like so. And then you just do it opposite, like so. That adds a certain type of a texture to this, which I kind of like. Um, I'll play with that a bit more over here. Now, it doesn't have to be perfectly symmetrical either, you know. It should have some organic qualities to it. So, seeing how long it takes to do this kind of art, imagine doing 100 pages like this. Well, that's what comics are. You know, they take a great deal of time to do. So it's going to be tricky once the graphic novel comes out. The thing about that is people read it and they go, "All right, where's the next one?" And you're like, "It'll be done in 6 months." You know, so it's I don't know quite how we're gonna approach that situation, but we'll see when we get there. Might just do it more like on a monthly basis after that, you know, because the graphic novel sets up the whole story. All right, I feel like I want to get into this guy's face a bit here now. And this is a 3. So I'm drawing all these little nasty veins. He's a zombie, but somehow he still has blood in his veins. Would you guys prefer jazz to classical? Let's see what's going on in the chat. Like Conan, Clyde Caldwell, and Larry Elmore were the original D&D artists. They were incredible. Yeah, good stuff. Then, of course, Frank Rosetta, Boris Vallejo. Of course, I'm a bassist, thrash metal. Rock on. I'm a bass player too. Grew up on 2000 AD. Yeah, yeah. Len Graham, you must be in England. 2000 AD, it was, you know, the thing going on there. I only found out that years ago. I love great art. Low-key epic music would be good. I hate jazz. Okay, how did you get your camera to work? I don't know. I just, the gremlins left, I suppose. I don't know. Yes. So here I'm using a little bit of stippling. Like when you draw lines like this, it's what you would call rendering, you know. But then when you go dot, 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 that's stippling. So it can, you know, here I'm kind of more using it for texture. You figure he's a zombie. His skin's probably very disgusting and textured. So I want to bring that in. It's got, I've created like a scar on it running down his eye. So I'm gonna try to continue that up here. Now, I like the idea of using kind of like a light gray eyes in it, creating the feeling that like he's dead inside. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna grab some of that ink, that medium toned ink, and wash it in to the iris here. That's has kind of a nice sort of scary look to it. It's quite nice. I'm happy with that. Let me just have some, since you guys are watching, I'll go a little farther with this eye and show you just kind of how the rendering works. I gotta have the right, it's a little big. Let's find a better one. Okay, we've got a nice small one here. So this is obviously black. And so when you add the black, it really punches it. That is the kind of the final level with the inking. You know, you kind of go light to dark. So really, really digging this job. It allows me to flex, you know, my skills. It's always nice to have a job like that. You know, when I'm doing, I don't know, like graphic design or children's books or QT, whatever, you know, that kind of stuff, you can't really show the full range of what your skill sets are. You know, you're working for a client. Gotta kind of give them what they need, you know, just fine. But a job like this, I get to kind of do the things that I dreamed about doing when I was younger, you know, just fun. Again, these kind of slashy uh, strokes that you do, they have a beautiful, beautiful quality to them. For the eye, I'm gonna maybe want to use a template to get a perfect circle, so I'll have to go grab that tool. But for now, just gonna continue. One thing I've always liked, you know, whenever I look at sort of zombie art, is they have holes where their cheeks are, then you can kind of see their teeth, and it's just one of those classic visual devices with that genre. You don't want to use a real dark tone around the eyes to make them look very tired, kind of worn out. Also to add to the visual drama with darker tones. I'm going to see about washing this in. So I guess from your perspective, I don't know quite how this looks, but there's just lots of micro drawings going on here. You know, it's quite an intense process. You don't usually talk when you're doing this. You know, there you go. You see that? Let me give you a little close up here. So if you're seeing the way that eye looks, you know, with all the tonal varieties and textures. So now the whole picture has to have that, right? Some places this will be less rendered because it's a memory. These figures are just going to be black silhouettes. So it's about balance. Let's check the chat. How did you get your okay? Camera's just working. It's crazy how mainstream modern art became trash, but really skilled art was preserved in pulp comics. Ah, that makes my head explode. That's so true. It's the illustrators who went to art school and then did like romance novel covers and, you know, just anything that they could, any jobs they could get. Those were the guys that were skilled, you know. Of course, the art world and illustration, two different kind of worlds, I guess. Okay. Makes me think it was purposeful, pushing real art to the fringe while they lift up brutalist and postmodern trash, blatant deconstructionism. Yeah, it's a big story. You look at even back during the Impressionist period, the sort of academy art, the standard art of the day, was extremely high level realism, and so you know, I think that's kind of where things started to split. Um, Moving on, Dark Side of the Moon is one of my favorite albums, by the way, Yankee Apple. I don't think I could put that on without getting a copyright strike. I want them to play Dark Side of the Moon at my funeral, just so you know. I'm into Bach, Beethoven, Slayer, Wagner, Amon, Amarth, Ghost Rider, Doodle Squatch, JDA's Deus Volt, uh, John Della Rose. Is that who you're talking about? Deus Volt looks very good, classic 80s feel. Will you produce this piece to A2 size and sell yours on your site? I will be selling prints of this that will be roughly the same size as the original. The original one I wouldn't sell for cheap. It's going to be a couple $1,000. Just putting that out there, you know, because the thing I'm doing with Dave Martel leading with this new magazine venture is historic, and I'm really, really pleased to be a part of this. So just putting that out there. I'll be right back. Got to grab some tools. All right, here's the fun stuff, right? So when you're drawing architecture and machines and stuff, et cetera, you want to have all these different types of templates. I'm just going to need it for his eye. I'll set that aside. And then I think what I'll do is get a marker that does not have a brush end on it. It's more of a graphic marker. And then I'm kind of trying to match the template to the size of his iris. And then I'm just going to give it a little swipe. Maybe I can't see very well. Hold on. It's kind of the minutia of what I do. All right. So you would obviously use the same. Well, I mean, I could make one eye sort of warped a bit, you know, but I like the idea that he's looking straight at the viewer. It's kind of intimidating, you know. Okay, what's next? I think I gotta work more with those medium light tones. There's just a certain logic to all of this too. You have to kind of think, you know, say the shape of the ear, you know, and all the kind of bumps and craggy areas in there, and how, you know, how does the tone fall on that? What does it look like exactly? You know? And it's not a zombie if he doesn't have his nose falling off. It's the rule of how zombies look, apparently. So this guy hasn't shaved in a while. Yes, Doodle Squatch. Did you know that John Del Rose and I worked together? Um, I guess if you've been following my channel, you would know that I illustrated Dynamite Thor with him. We did a what do you call it? A Kickstarter. Uh, Unfortunately, the the left, the jerks on the left got a hold of what we were doing and called us bad names, and then we didn't get the funding, as much funding as we were supposed to, for production of that book. So I can tell you I directly experienced the bad effects, the financial bad effects of their slander, their organized attack. So Comicsgate is real. It's a culture war as much as it is a kind of a financial war. I feel very much that, how do I say this? It's all about silencing us. It's in any way that they can. Of course, they would love to hurt us financially as well. Um, but I don't know. I mean, I don't have a lot of sympathy for these kind of people. They're pretty evil. You know, I don't want war. I don't make a point to go out and troll people and try to hurt them or maliciously slander them or any of that shit. You know, but that's all they do. They're broken people. They're weaponized. Eddie from Iron Maiden vibes. Yes, well said, Len. I have some templates. Let's see. I can also wield factory work. Oh, weld. Okay. Thor, our best friends on the left. Yeah, lovely. Dynamite Thor. I was wondering which one you did. Dynamite Thor is public domain character. Yes, it is. So one thing about uh, that book project is that I did the inking for the first part of the book, and then just due to time and whatever, John had to hire somebody to do the inking for the second half of the book. So it does look, you can tell that it doesn't kind of look like the same guy, but it's still quite good. I think it's still out there on Amazon, actually. So raise your hand if you saw the movie Heavy Metal, the animated film Heavy Metal. So I have to say, while I'm doing this character here, I'm thinking of the scene with it's like a World War II battle, and there's these guys in this airplane, and they get shot up, and then the men that got killed on the airplane come back to life to attack the pilot. It's quite awesome. It's like one of the spookier stories in the movie Heavy Metal. Um, Pierre von Racine, yes, yeah. Hail the Lochnar. Right. There's a really, really good documentary on the making of heavy metal. It really was extraordinary that they pulled it off. They had animation teams from different countries in the world that all were working, you know, on their own on each story. So it's quite interesting. Okay. Hope you guys are enjoying this. Let me give you a little update here, a little close up. Try to turn it that way. I'm going to get a feel about how this is coming together. Close the city and tell the people that something's coming to call. That is one of the best songs in the world. I love that song. That's like talk about a war cry, you know. You should do the Iraqian sometime. Oh yeah, I like the chill Monday morning stream. Yeah, yeah. So I've been kind of following Heavy Metal Magazine website. They have some kind of podcast now, and yeah, it's neat. It's neat. I mean, I'm one of these guys. I'm sort of an anachronism. You know, I'm sort of stuck in the past. I like heavy metal in basically the '60s and the '70s. That's my thing. I think in the late '80s, heavy metal was purchased by the dude that created the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I don't know his name, but and it became like cheesecake after that. So I kind of lost interest. I liked it when it was mostly European artists and that it had a kind of well, of course, it was very adult, but it had a sort of a, I guess, a rebellious edge to it. You know, there was something about the stories that were anti-establishment and just not about, you know, big boobs and swords. You know, like I like big boobs and swords, but you know, the part of what was great about a lot of those magazines was the psychology of it. It's just astonishing the kind of concepts that they came up with. Um, this is what Dave is accomplishing now with the Bizarchives, is he's getting great authors with amazing ideas to kind of dazzle us in a way, horrify us, inspire us, entertain us. And it's not all just eye candy or whatever, which of course it's not that because it's a, you know, short stories, but I think you understand what I'm trying to say. Dino Storm is here. Make a tutorial channel. I have thought about that. That's in a way a full-time job. When I used to teach, my students used to beg me to do that, and you know that's actually how I got the camera that I'm using right now. Um, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of tutorial channels out there already. So I sort of feel, do I want to compete with that market? Do I, I'm very, very much interested in doing content for the white positive sphere. In a sense, I'm just always reinventing myself and finding new ways to do what I do, make money from it, et cetera, et cetera. Boy, if I only had like a rich globalist to pay me what to say, and a dozen minions to go bully people who don't agree with me. Oh, what a nice life that would be. Boy, oh boy. Heavy Metal 2 has not good. Yeah, I didn't even watch Heavy Metal 2. It seemed that was exactly what I meant. It just seemed really cheesy. Yeah, it's sad, but we still have what we have. You know, and so whenever I go to Comic Cons, that's my mission, is that I look for old magazines of this kind, right? I collect them. Let's maybe take a second to look at, like, Eerie magazine. What do we got here? We got Zud Kamish. It's kind of like based on what's his name, Han Solo, like a space pirate. Bishop Dane and the Dax. Swords and Sorcery. The Mist is a kind of a sorcery in New York City. Hagarth is your classic, uh, you know, barbarian kind of story. The illustrations are insane. They're so beautiful. Like the anatomy, the action sequencing, the light, the brush handling. This is the stuff right here. It's so beautiful. So narrative is obviously so important, and having these kinds of adventurous narratives are fun. So there you go. Okay. It's another thing about this kind of work is, there's a lot of decision making going on all the time. Always trying to figure out what's next. Let's see. Okay. Uh-oh, we're getting camera issues here again. Just maybe zoom in a bit. Turn off the autofocus. Sorry, I can feel it in my heart. Oh, jeez. That's better. It stopped. No, it's back. Okay, I think we're back. Mhm. Imminent Rain metal music. Prometheus did some press ups and Gorthang laid an egg. Okay, is that from Imminent Rain's song? Uh, Luke's a really good buddy of mine. He's a fabulous friend. So you guys really did see a lot in watching this episode. This is quite, I don't know, it's a lot to see. Designing it takes a huge amount of time, and you missed that part. This is kind of the fun part, where you get to actually see production, the playfulness of the lines, the challenge of feeling it out. What is it that I'm accomplishing here? What's the mood? Uh, all the techniques involved. It's quite a lot to consider. And there's much more to come here too. So like these mountains in the background here, I'm going to have to render them, uh, which will be nice because you got that kind of rockiness. So the question is, you've got black, you've got maybe white sand, and then black figures here. So, and it's always a kind of a rhythm where you have like dark and light and dark and light and dark and light. I have to figure that out. Uh-oh, camera's being stupid again. Let's zoom in a bit. All right, what do we got here? Watch Rider, are these art pieces for each individual story? Yes. They're kind of like, sort of like title images per story. And then it makes sense, like, of course, when you read the story and you look at the image, it'll all come together, you know. So the images, in a sense, are like the cover of each story. You can think of it like that. Um, and I think it's going to add a lot of value to the book in terms of like the experience of the stories will be enriched by the art. Sorry about that camera. Sorry, guys. Try to get to focus on something. Okay, these loving it. Sorry for the late reply. Yorkshire Dales, pal. I don't know what that is in Bonnie, England. Oh, I guess Yorkshire Dales is where you're coming from. Nice feeling to watch your story. Visualize. Man, this damn camera is my bane, though. Let's see if we can get it to behave a little bit better. There we go. You guys are awesome. I'm so glad that you came. These earlier streams, I think, are better for my my European friends, my European audience. Um, I've got folks in Finland and Denmark and Eastern Europe, or rather Central Europe, and I don't know, there's a problem because they can't tune into a lot of the shows since they're often at night. And then, of course, sometimes they stay up, but like that's really late and people have jobs and stuff. So bit of a problem. I'm off on Mondays, so I am planning on doing another stream later, possibly in the evening. I'm not 100% sure yet about the theme, but I don't know. We'll see how that goes. I can't confirm that quite yet. So with these hands, I laid out all the tone, and now I can put in like wrinkles in the knuckles and in the what do you call it, the nails and the rest of it. So there's still a lot to do, but I'm trying to do this whole thing in phases. So I did this, and now I'm going to do this part. Because like I said, it's sort of like a sculpture. You're just building it up, and you want to see it come to life. Again, these figures here are silhouettes. So I basically just outline them and then get a marker and just kind of block them out, fill them in. So when all is said and done, and I get these scanned into Photoshop, I will tweak it just a hair to make sure that the contrast is exactly how I like it. So it's it's quite a process. Contrast gang rising. All right, dino storms in England. We've got a lot of good friends from England here. That's fabulous. Um, a while ago, I did an episode of Afternoon at the Museum with the ladies of Hearth of Europa. And of course, one is from Finland and the other from England. And I really, really enjoyed that show. I strongly recommend it. Um, so, has anybody seen my appearance on XYZ Festival? That was, it's an Australian website, magazine, YouTube, and they just had me on there. Mark Collette came on after me. Um, just kind of a, as I say, a sort of a festival where they're having different people on for different topics, etc. So I was really happy. Did a pretty good presentation on the arts in our sphere and our war, if you will, our culture war, and was extremely happy that Jeff Winston was happy with it. That means a lot. Jeff Winston created the White Art Collective, and oversees it, manages it, and he's of course a friend. So making sure that I'm representing our people in the movement properly and professionally is a pretty big deal. So I feel really happy about that. And then the presentation is a PowerPoint, so that if anybody wants to use it, they can take it into a classroom or wherever you want to do a presentation on the arts in our sphere. It's there, and the images have links kind of embedded on them, so it's pretty easy to to get that. You go to their site, xyz.net.au, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Some people were asking, like, well, what good are the arts in our sphere? We have political problems. How are we going to solve it with art? And that is a really, really good question, because it's just like a skeptic's question, and you should be skeptical. You should torture the data, as they say. You should push and see how much you can learn. So a couple of things, of course, I think you guys are mostly in the know, but a lot of this is an information war and a culture war. It's about moralizing our people as much as informing our people. And so, the question is, well, what are you fighting for? Who are you? And the arts obviously play a role in clarifying that. In addition to that, it's also the sense of community building. A certain kind of spiritual health to it that plays a role in this. It's quite important. But this is why I have things like the 4G warfare topic on my site, because I don't want American Zarathustra to just be arts related. There's a lot of other stuff. Have you ever read any Roger Scruton? No, but I know the name. Maybe you could leave a link or tell people what it's about. It's really coming along. Cool. I'd like to do Bizarchives, but I don't know if I have time. I got spooky short film to do, plus one big project a month. Yeah, I know time is the enemy. I always feel like time is the sort of the biggest problem of them all, for me anyway. Roger was an English architect who spoke of beauty and was against anything modern. Just read any of his books. Time is so yeah. CG says look him up on YouTube. What was the name again? Roger Scruton. Yeah. If he talks about architecture, that's probably how I know him. You know who I really want on Imperium Art? I want Kai Moros. You know, he some time ago we had talked about that, and I don't know. We'll see. He's I consider him a friend. I mean, we've been very friendly with each other in our correspondences. He's definitely a friend of the White Art Collective. Um, he seems to be shy, though, like sort of dreadfully shy, which sucks. Anyway. So I think you're beginning to see this picture come together. Um, it's really great having company in my art studio, by the way. I appreciate you guys taking some time out and hanging out. It's really nice. I appreciate it. Yeah. So speaking of Kai Moros, one of my projects that I have not had time to get around to is a book project called The Illustrated Speeches of Kai Moros. So I got approved by Kai to do that. Um, Problem is I don't have time to do that. It's one of those things where you work now and get paid later kind of deal, and I'm just not right in the spot, you know, where I can do that, unfortunately. So we'll see. We'll see in the future, though. I feel like that day will come. Oh, we got some camera action here. Um, so maybe you can see the characters here, how I'm outlining them. And you can see how in silhouette, how mysterious they become within the context of the image. Also, it's a spatial device. You see how they're getting smaller as they go back in space. So that's a, you know, that's a kind of a visual trick for the eye. to make the image more engaging. Let's see what we got on the chat. AZ plays instruments one-handed whilst he draws. Oh boy, I'm not quite there yet, buddy. Let's see, Camaros, yes, very welcome. Oh, that's nice of you to say, Dino Storm. No problem. Camera being gay again. Whoever invented autofocus should be banned. I strongly agree. It's irritating. Anyway. So this has really been something. I'm enjoying the heck out of it. I'm just so crazy about this kind of art. You know, when of course, Dave Martel came to me about doing the cover, and he had a very, very specific image in mind. Like he already knew what he wanted it to look like. He had created this wizard character, etc. And so there really wasn't like a lot of, say, creative challenge to doing it. He had already worked out what he wanted it to look like, and so it was really kind of more about just executing it. And then as I saw the book came out and the sales were doing good, blah blah blah, it occurred to me like, yeah, this something's going on here. I want to be a part of this. It's quite awesome. Camel well-being. Okay, oh, yeah. There you go. Stupid things dried out. It's a bummer when your markers dry out and you gotta spend money and get more. You actually have to get out of your chair and out of your studio and drive to the art supply store. It's okay. My art supply store has some really cool girls that work there. I like to flirt with them, so it's fun. But since I'm going to be using a ton of black, I think I really am going to buy some India ink and get back to the brush work, because I don't know, the black India ink is really, really rich and dark. It's got a kind of a blood-like texture to it as far as like painting, and I think it might last longer than these. Yeah, of course it's going to last longer than these brushes. You have to be careful though, because that's real inking, whereby you're using ink and you can kind of slur it along the painting, or rather the artwork. You can, like, if I move my hand across that, it's not going to blur the ink across the page. But if I'm using real wet ink, and you do that, you ruin the whole artwork. So, did you like the story? So, regarding the work I'm doing, since it takes so much time to do the artwork, I don't have time to read every story. I will get the book once it's published and read the stories. What I get is a synopsis. You know, I'll say, okay, what's the story about? What are the key moments? It's kind of like if you were doing a movie pitch and you say, okay, uh, uh, boy finds out that he is part of the ancient Jedi culture, and he has to go on a journey to destroy the Death Star, you know, or something. But he finds out that the evil emperor or something or other is his father, something. You know, you just have to give me like an elevator pitch so that I know the key elements of the story, which I then design, you know, into this, and et cetera, et cetera. So that's how it works. But yeah, I certainly am gonna want a copy of this, right? You know, I want everybody to get a copy. So this has really been a good show. I didn't actually think I would get this far. Thanks for the preview, Don, and listening and working on stuff. Great to have you around, Arta Bach, Arta Buch. Whenever I see the umlaut over a letter, I try to pretend like I know how to pronounce it. So there's going to be a lot more tweaking on this um, after I wrap up the show today. But I think it's wonderful that you guys got a chance to see me kick off the Bizarchives 2 interior art. It's looking like I'm going to be doing this much more because I have like 11 more, actually 12 more illustrations to go, including the cover. That's a lot of work. Um, so it's great that I have work to show you that you can enjoy watching with me, you know. But for now, I think what I'll do is call it a day. You're getting a basic idea of what the image is going to look like. I'm going to try to zoom in a bit here. You have the overall concept of it. So it's been a massive pleasure to have you guys here. Again, so happy that you joined me. Please tell your friends, share this to your social media, let other people see what I'm doing and join in. And I will wish you guys a wonderful, wonderful day. Take care.